So one of the major common symptoms is increased irritability. Increased irritability. Men tend to show depressive signs different from women.
Hello, and welcome to Spirit in Mind, where we discuss life with faith and mental health perspectives. I'm Bishop Guy Robinson, and we're grateful that you are with us for another edition of Spirit in Mind, and grateful for my colleague, co-host, Dr. Jonathan Shepard, who is with us as well. Hello, Dr. Shepard.
Hey, Bishop, and hello to all of our podcast viewers. And it's good to be back for another episode of Spirit in Mind.
And we want to thank you for all of your support. We did that in a previous podcast, but we're really grateful for the milestones that we're reaching as your support and as you're spreading the message. And so, Dr. Shepard, do we want to say anything about contacting before we get into it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as Bishop just said, we're reaching some great milestones, and we're riding this bandwagon of momentum. And so thank you. It would not be possible unless you all were involved. We continue to reach out. We continue to receive different messages through social media, through YouTube, through our email. So you can hit us up. If you want to, you can email us at spiritinmindhealth@gmail.com, or you can go into subscribe at our YouTube page, Spirit in Mind YouTube, or you can hit myself or Bishop Robinson up on our personal pages. If there's any need that you have, we can provide some resources for you, direct care services. We can come and participate in any symposiums that you may have. We're excited because this is such a wonderful time to be talking about mental health awareness. Depending on when you get a chance to air or view this episode, when we record this, it's actually in the month of May, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're so excited. We're passionate about what we do. And so thank you for being a part of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And so it's the month of May. And then actually the month of June is Father's Day, in which we typically celebrate and set aside to appreciate the role of fathers and father figures in our society. And so we thought today would be a good moment to talk about, in light of the calendar and in light of recent events that we'll get into. We wanted to talk about a little bit about the male experience from a psycho-spiritual perspective. So Dr. Shepard's going to lead us into that.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we cover all bases. Many times when people hear about mental health disorders, they may think about women or maybe even children, but we forget at times to really emphasize that men deal with mental health issues, in particular depression. And so we want to focus in on during this particular series on men, in particular men of color, Black men. And one of the things that we're going to do, we're going to define what mental health is. Mental health is a state of well-being where every individual recognizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and make a contribution to his or her community. That's a mouthful, but I'll say it again. Mental health is a state of well-being where every individual recognizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. The way in which I do it, Bishop, is I shepherdize it. And, I come to find out that actually is a true term, shepherdize. It's a legal term. I didn't know that. I was presented to lawyers and they said, "Oh, we know what that means." I just thought I created up a term. It's like, no, shepherdize is actually a legal term. I said, "Oh, okay, well, cool. That's good to know." So what I've done is I've helped to so I can remember it because I'm actually reciting that definition. Is I've divided into an acronym PCWC. P stands for potential, C stands for cope, W work, and the last C is for contribution. So that's how I remember that. That's so important when we're talking about mental health that we know what mental health stands for, how is it defined. I want to take a pause there. I want to let Bishop jump in and see what he has to add on to that particular definition.
No, that's a great working definition. And we're talking about mental health and those things they're characteristics. And that for me, that's things that can help us to know when we are, functioning and flourishing well, the need to realize our potential. And so there are conditions that can challenge those things. Social determinants of health, oppression. It's hard to maximize and realize your potential when you are oppressed, when you are overwhelmingly distressed. And so we're lifting that definition so that we can then begin to look at some things to flourish, to continue to flourish in that. And we're going to apply that specifically to the male condition and what it is to be a male, a Black male, even more specifically, living with what we live with. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, there have been some disturbing occurrences over the last several months within the United States of America that have really caused people to pause and take a look, in particular for men, as to what may be going through their minds, what they're struggling with in mental health. One of those incidents is the former Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, who was I believe, the lieutenant governor between 2018 to 2022, somewhere within that time frame, fairly recent, and ended up taking the life of his wife and taking his own life. And it's not clear as to what may have been the impetus that sparked that. But we lift that up because it's so distressing to hear where a prominent figure, one who was on the uprise, if you would, Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. Virginia is a well-known state in the Union, one that is looked upon for various programs, and people follow Virginia, especially because of its close nature to DC, our nation's capital. And with me working in DC, I see really some of the overflow of what happens between Virginia, DC, Maryland. Just kind of laying a context for you that when you have someone of this notoriety who's Black, male, in a high position like that, you wonder, like, well, what was going on? What could he have been dealing with? Now, I don't want to sit here and try to hypothesize what he may have been struggling with, but we do want to talk about what are some of the warning signs of when a Black male may be going through depressive symptoms. So one of the major common symptoms is increased irritability. Men tend to show depressive signs different from women. And this particular area is similar to children and adolescents. I want to be very clear. I am not calling men children or adolescents, Bishop. I'll be clear about that. I'm not doing that. Don't send me any negative emails. But what I'm saying is that the irritability is common. That is one of the more common symptoms that we see. So, and even if I take a step back, is that you'll notice typically when a person's depressed, there's a whole change of their countenance, of who they are. Typically, a person's depressed doesn't just flip overnight. There's normally a gradual decline in how that person is functioning. And in men, you will tend to see typically an increase in irritability. I'm just going to share an example, then I'll stop. One may be when you go to say hello to the gentleman and they respond, well, why are you talking to me? I ain't got nothing to say to you. And all you did was just say hello. Or you might accidentally step on their toe or, bump into them. It's clearly an accident and they're ready to swing on you, ready to knock you out. I mean, it's like what's up? Yeah. And that's not all the time. And we have to be very careful to note that in the society that we live in, that there is a reason for some of this increased anger. That is true. But when it's always at a point to where something minor pushes you over the edge, then that's something to say that there's a disorder present. That means that the person's not functioning properly. Yeah, would you agree, Bishop?
Absolutely. It's a complex issue, and we have to be careful not to be overly reductionistic in our, even as we're thinking about this and hoping to be effective, and in our ways of thinking about it as society is what I want to say, because it is. There are mental health concerns, that socially constructed concerns in terms of, as he said, Dr. Shepard mentioned the concerns about disorder and pre-existing mental health conditions. And then there are social determinants that can exacerbate those. Some of them include job loss, losses of sense of control, feelings of hopelessness, helplessness. And that's not to say, here's my disclaimer, that's not to say that everyone who loses a job or goes through a divorce or goes through some of those social determinants of negative mental, negative health, negative social determinants of health. Some of the persons who go through that, not everyone does that. But what we're saying is that the culmination of these things can make one more vulnerable to pursuing extreme options, catastrophic thinking. This is all over. This is the worst. And we can be attentive to that kind of language, like this is all going to end. This is terrible. That kind of fatalistic language can sometimes be entry points for us to suggest help. Preventive entry points or intervention entry points. Again, so these things happen, these issues in life, racism, divorce, job loss, sexism, ageism, all these things are realistic struggles of life that really, quite frankly, can impede the development of our potential, which is where we started talking about one of the characteristics of mental health. So all these things can impede our mental health, impede our development, and subsequently affect how we feel emotionally. So that's why this point of saying there is help, there is hope, and to be vigilant concerning some of these signs are so very important.
Yeah, and Bishop was talking about that. Thank you for just emphasizing again that there is help, there is hope in the midst of despair. I think about the family of Justin Fairfax, the children who were left. How do we help them? They're now parentless, and they may be aware of the situation. With news and media, you can only imagine what may be going through their head. We think about the incident in Shreveport, Louisiana, where I believe it was, what was it, 8 children killed altogether? Was it?
I believe it was something. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, something like that where we are grieving as a community a great loss. These are some disparaging times. I have to admit, which is why we are lifting up this particular subject, not to emphasize the despair or the negativity. We lift up these particular issues so that we can provide some hope and provide some help and hopefully provide some guidance for you through this. One of the things that I want to say is that we want you to be able to share this episode with the men in your life. We recognize our demographics who are our faithful listeners, and we will continue to expand. We want you to share this episode with your nephews, with your fathers, with your cousins, with your grandfathers. Sit and listen to it, because just having two men right here share and just talk about this can help to open up a person to be able to want to dialogue, want to share, and be able to hopefully bring to light some areas that they may have kept hidden for a while.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Spirit in Mind, and we're also on Instagram at Spirit in Mind Live. Join us next time for a new episode of Spirit in Mind.